are very similar, but that often exist in their own silos.
Right.
Like the arts world, right, can sometimes just be the arts and for the sake of the arts. The media world, sometimes it's just about media, and a lot of times it's just about journalism. Cultural work, sometimes that's very academic, right? Activists who are doing policy organizing and advocacy work, a lot of times they're using media and arts, right? So there's a real intersection there that NAMAC works between and tries to play a bridge role between a lot of those different communities.
That's great.
And I would say the technology community is another aspect of that too, right? People working in social media and other technologies for media.
Yeah, and I think all of it is coming together. Like I know for me, sort of NAMAC is on Facebook and Twitter, and so if people are very sort of connected online, they can sort of, really sort of stay in the loop with everything that's happening with the organization. So let's dive into the conference a little bit in terms of what's happening coming up this week.
Yeah, so we've got our big biennial event coming up this week. It's happening in Boston.
Yeah.
So the conference really only happens every 2 years, so when it happens, it's a very big deal.
Yeah, and then you have a very fitting theme to be in Boston.
Yes, the theme of the conference this year is Commonwealth.
Yep.
Right, so it comes out of Massachusetts being a commonwealth, right, but also from the idea that, our wealth really is in what we have in common and in coming together and collaborating. Also, the concept of the commons is really a lot about the public sphere, right? Boston Common was created as a common ground where everybody could come and have a piece of that land, right? We think of public media and public art as being a very similar concept, right? A digital commons, which we see as the internet these days. So the theme of Commonwealth is very appropriate right now to us and where we are, and we're excited to be in Boston because it's been about 20 years since NAMAC has been here.
Great. I mean, it's always because a lot of national conferences they can be held anywhere, and so it's always great when it's right in your backyard, so people can just go to it and find out what's going on. And then the program itself, I know there's a lot happening during those few days. Talk to us a little bit about starting from sort of like the kickoff day throughout the program. What can people expect if they're interested in attending?
Great. So the conference kicks off on Wednesday evening with an opening reception that's going to be held at MIT, actually at their museum.
Okay.
So really, that's another great thing about this conference is a chance for Boston to show off to the rest of the national arts and media folks who are coming here what makes Boston a leader in arts and media and culture. So we're partnering with a lot of really interesting organizations here locally to host different events. So MIT's museum will be hosting the opening reception. They have a really interesting exhibit happening right now called Connections. That's about social media. And it's kind of a blend of social media and visual arts. And so we'll have a reception there Wednesday evening to kick it off. On Thursday morning is when the full conference starts in earnest. It's being held at the Boston Park Plaza Hotel. So Thursday morning at 9 o'clock we start with our big opening plenary, which we're calling it a State of the Field address. So kind of, and we've invited 4 speakers to each come and talk about the state of the field from the perspective of a different aspect that impacts the field. So we've got a speaker coming to talk about the economy. What's the situation?
Can't avoid the economy.
Can't avoid the economy, right?
Yeah.
So she'll come and give some analysis on the funding of arts and media organizations, on ticket sales for films and all that sort of stuff. Everything that impacts the economy of the work that we do, because it takes money to produce media and arts and culture. So somebody will also talk about policy. Things are really moving. It's a whole different era right now than it was the last time this network met. It was 2 years ago. 2 years ago in 2007. It was a whole different political environment then. So there's really a lot of opportunity right now in Washington in particular for moving arts and media agendas.
And you have a new president. I don't know if
a new president, new administration. So we'll hear some analysis on what's that about. Who's in place in Washington, and what's their take on media, arts, and culture. What are the policies that are hot right now? Are they going to move? Are they not going to move? What do we all need to be working on to advance the field? Is policy the way that we're going to advance the field? Right. It seems like there may be a lot of opportunities there. So we'll hear about that. Somebody will also talk about the state of culture and how that impacts this, right? So much is changing in our country. Demographics are shifting, right? Demographers have predicted for a while that 2050 will be the year that people of color are the majority numbers, not white folks, right? And that number is now shifting back. Now they're saying that it will maybe be 2047, right? Right. And immigration patterns are shifting around the country. The different immigrants coming from lots of different countries into lots of different places. That's changing the makeup of communities. gender
It's a big one.
is a big one, right? And age is a big one, right?
Yeah.
So we'll have somebody who is going to come and just break down a lot of the demographics and the culture and what that means, right? And what that means in terms of arts and media makers. Who are these new audiences, right? You know,
Yeah.
who are we communicating with now,
Okay.
and how are we engaging them? So the culture.